Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and we're here today with Pete Neubig. And what we're going to talk about is how to leverage a remote workforce to really grow your real estate investment business. Remember, guys, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and really all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business by giving them tools, giving them resources to help build the businesses they want to build and develop the lifestyles they've always dreamed of living. So, Pete, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Man. Yeah, you're very welcome. And I'm super excited. I know that, I've used a remote workforce and I'm excited to talk about that. But before we really get into the weeds, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got into real estate, et cetera.
Yeah, I'll give my 50 plus years in about 5 minutes. How's that?
There we go. Reader's Digest version.
So I grew up in New York City in the Bronx. I live in Houston, Texas. When I was growing up, my family always told me, hey, go get good grades in high school, go to college, and then go get a good job. And I got okay grades. I went to an okay college and I got an okay job. And I did that for many years. And I just kept thinking there was more to it than just going to work, going home, drinking beer, and just hanging out.
Sure.
And in 2000, I graduated college in 92. In 2000, I started buying properties. And at the time, I wanted to own a business, but I didn't really know. I didn't think I was smart enough to own a business. So I'm like, well, I'll just learn how to buy properties. And I was very fortunate. In Houston, there's a local investment club, and I joined them. And they kind of helped me through the whole process of buying my first properties. And then I bought a bunch of properties, and I bought so many that I couldn't manage them. So I then created a management firm, and I quit my full-time job at age 41. I started my management firm. The management firm started managing third party. So we were managing for other people. At the time, I owned 31 homes and 2 apartment complexes, and still not making any money. Still needed my full-time job. And it wasn't until I started third-party managing where I was actually started making money. Realized quickly that the homes I bought were the bad ones, and we can talk about that, a different show about how I lost money on my apartment complex and the homes, and that I started making money on the management firm. And then what I realized is as I was building the management firm, for me to be profitable, I had to really stress my team out. And then right before somebody would leave, I would go and hire somebody else. Like, hey, let's add to the team. And then I'd be like cash negative again. And then it was on the seesaw. And that's when I realized if I can, hire remote team members for a third of the cost, I can hire more people, get more stuff done, and I can be profitable. Mm-hmm. And that's when I ended up really supercharging my business, growing it to 3 markets. We were in Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and we then sold that company. And then I took a job with the company that bought us, and I realized that I'm no longer employable. So I've been 10 years out of the workforce, got back into the workforce, like this isn't good.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So I decided, what am I going to do next? And I'm like, well, let me help people that with remote team members, because that's how I literally, made my company profitable. So I created VPM Solutions, which is a marketplace that connects real estate with the real estate industry and really focusing on property management with remote team members. And I think we're in 120 countries that we can find them and hire them. So that's about 50 years in
kind of the nutshell.
In 3 minutes. So
got it. New York to Houston, big change. Was that for school?
No, actually, I had a job opportunity, and I thought like I'd be in Houston for a year. I call Houston the Roach Motel. You check in, you don't check out. Houston's a great place to live. It's a terrible place to visit. And when I moved down here, I was still a young man, and I'm like, well, I'll just polish, get my resume going. I'll move back, and next thing you know, I'm like buying houses. I couldn't do that in New York. I couldn't buy the houses in New York City
because the price, or because is that
the price?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so in 2000, you're buying homes. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know what comes 8 years later, right? How did you navigate that? The fall of the market. I mean, were you holding properties still then? What were you doing?
Yeah, what's funny? And so in 2007, right before, and up to 2008, I was wholesaling properties. Oh, wow, and we were doing really well. I basically would wholesale, or optioning at the time it was called, is I'd find somebody who wanted to sell the property. I would negotiate down with them. I would negotiate a price, right? I needed to have some in it for me. And then I would turn around, I would sell it or option the contract to an investor. And what I realized at the end of 07, early 08, I was getting way more sellers and no buyers. All the buyers were gone.
Interesting.
And then I came up with this great idea. Why don't I buy all the properties? So I found a bank, local bank. I don't know if they have local banks anymore, because my local bank got bought like 3 times since then.
Maybe, or credit unions or something.
I ended up connecting with this investor who's selling a bunch of homes. I bought a bunch of homes from him, all low income stuff. The bank, it was crazy. I walked into the bank and I'm sitting there, and this is the first time I'm getting a commercial kind of bank loan, because I'm buying a package of 6 houses, right? Okay. Everything before that was done through your normal, mortgage lender. Right. Whereas, by the way, with the mortgage lender, even back then, before 08, when you didn't have a pulse, but still back then, you had to give them everything, like all the information. So I go in this bank, they get my driver's license, they make me fill out, I think, like 4 slices of paper, right? 4 pieces of paper, and like, okay, thanks. I go, what happened? I just bought 6 homes. It was like the easiest deal I've ever done. Then I got crazy, and I'm like, okay, well, hell, let's go buy more like this. And so in 08, I was buying properties because I had means to cash.
And you were holding, or were you selling?
I held them, and but because I bought all those properties in 08, by the time 11 came in, I owned 31 of them, and I was buying, John, bad properties. Okay.
Yeah.
Like in the MLK area, and everybody hears MLK. It's like the worst area of town, typically. Not always, but typically.
Well, there's usually places you don't buy.
homes back in 2007, 2008.
There's usually 2 places you don't buy: on number streets and on President streets. I know MLK is not a President street, but close enough is what my thing always was, right? You find those areas that have the MLKs, that have the Washingtons, it just tends to be, overall. But anyways, so you're buying, so you're doing that. You got a mentor, right? Tell me about the mentor, and tell me how important that was for your growth and success.
Yeah.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Extremely important. So when I went with the, Lifestyles Unlimited is the name of the company. They're still around.
Okay.
They were around 20 years ago, still around. And I had a mentor, and that mentor was the number one reason why I pulled the trigger and bought my first property, because I was so scared to do it. Like, I was just so unknown, dealing with residents and dealing with maintenance and toilets and taxes and tenants. Oh my.
Yeah.
I just had no idea how to do it. I was an IT guy for my life. Like, I didn't know what to do, how to do it. And they really, was able to kind of be there in case something did happen that I didn't know. They were like a safety blanket. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about getting into real estate and you just need that nudge, go find a mentor or find a real estate investment group, and and find like a meetup group. And I promise you, what is it? The old saying, hang around the 5 people you want to be the most.
Right.
Start hanging around with those folks. And what happened was I went from being scared to own a home to, like, now it was just like, hey, how many do you own? Right? Like, the mentality, the mind shift was really
growth,
crazy.
the mindset. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, and that's the biggest part. That's a big part of this industry too, is when you're getting into it, is having that mindset. And I know in my experience, a mentors help tremendously as well.
Yeah. Also, it's all about relationships and connections, right?
Yeah.
With the real estate group, you're finding people who are looking to sell homes because they want to go to apartment complexes, or they're selling homes because they've got all the depreciation out of them. There's reasons why they sell, just. And then you also meet the insurance agents. You also meet the mortgage brokers. You also meet the maintenance teams. You meet the VA guy, the virtual assistant guy, right? You meet everybody through those relationships.
Yeah.
So highly recommended, meetups and investment groups if you have them. Back in 05, 07, internet wasn't what it is today. So,
No.
in real life,
There's so
really
many ways you
important.
can fail, and there's so many pitfalls, and that. And there's so much information out there nowadays too, is that, finding that mentor is going to help guide you on that right path.
Agreed.
You retired at 41, you said?
Well, I call it retirement, but honestly, I quit my job. I was an IT guy for a retailer, and I was like the senior systems engineer. And I left that job to start Empire Property Management. And I went from making, 6 figures a year in 2011 down to $12,000 a year because I started my business. But I had my real estate license at the time. I slung real estate on the side, made about $80,000 for the year, which is not terrible for slinging real estate. But the main thing was, the reason why I felt like I was retired, John, is I owned my time.
Got it.
I had my time, and I didn't have a boss anymore. It's good and bad, right? Because the buck stops with you, but the buck stops with you.
But the buck stops with you. If you're not working, you're not working, or you're not making if you're not working.
That's it. And I'm a big believer in mentors and coaches. So I actually hired a business coach before I quit my job. I had a business coach because I was starting the property management firm while I was working. So another thing that I think a lot of people do is they get sick of their job, or they listen to a podcast, or they read a book, and they go, oh my God, I'm going to go ahead and start my new life. And they quit their job. And then they're like, okay, now I'm going to go try to build something or try to start something. I literally built Empire for over a year while I was working. And it just kept taking more and more time. All of a sudden, my weekends were gone. My nights were gone. My lunch hour was gone. Now I'm like in between meetings working on stuff for the property management firm. So it was evident that it was going to be something. I didn't know how good it could be, but it was evident that it was going to be something. So I probably quit my job a little too late. But if you're thinking about like quitting your job to become a full-time real estate investor, like, you need the job to get the real estate unless you have private equity or private money. So like, just be very careful and be very mindful.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Don't leave the job too soon. I'd rather leave the job later than sooner. And I left my job later. I probably stayed about 8 months too late.
Or at least make sure you have enough reserves.
Right.
So now you're doing this, and when did the whole VA thing come in, the virtual assistant part come in, or when did you start using remote people?
I started using them, I want to say 2014, 2015 timeframe. Okay. And the reason why I was using them is, you remember back then, everybody had this thing called an office, right? So we had like brick and mortar. We had these things called office spaces, right? And if you think about it, it's so weird to think about it now. But back then, like, I know you're in Idaho, so you probably don't have as much traffic as we do in Houston. But I can promise you, 20 miles away from an office during the week is over an hour commute.
Hour drive, yeah.
Easily. And so if you think about it, I'm trying to pick from a pool of people that live less than 20 miles from the office. So that really reduces the pool.
Admits you, yeah.
Secondarily, we were a startup firm with not private equity backed, and we had no money. It wasn't like we had millions of dollars that we were investing in. Like, I was bootstrapped. And so we have a lot of these oil and gas firms here. We couldn't compete with them. So I'm looking at hiring people at a lower cost. A maintenance coordinator doesn't deserve $60,000 a year. It's a $30,000 a year job, but people couldn't work or don't want to work for that amount. And I don't blame them, because it's below poverty line. I get that, but that's what the job role can afford. And that's what the job role was paying. So now when you do get somebody that takes the job for $35,000 a year, whatever it was, you're getting kind of a lower quality person. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but typically they're GED, don't have a high school diploma or just a high school diploma, no college. And typically they had challenges outside in their personal life, outside the business, that would bring it in. Car doesn't work, they can't come in. The baby daddy, can't watch the kid, they can't come in. It's always something going on.
I take care of my parents or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's always something going on. So we were getting these lower type folks, and they just saw it as a job. They didn't see it as career, right? And so it didn't matter to them. Like, just come in when they could, when they wanted to, so to speak. And so what we found is, like, hey, we can hire people in Mexico at the time for about $6 to $7 an hour. Today, those same people are probably you're gonna have to pay about $10 to $11, right? Prices increase everywhere around the world, not just in the United States, especially for labor. But let's talk about, so instead of paying somebody $35,000, $40,000 a year, I can pay somebody $6 an hour. Well, I can afford to hire 3 people for that one person. And these 3 people are obviously bilingual. They have college education. And at $6 an hour, they were making more than their parents or more than anybody else. They were getting paid equal to or better than the market. So now I'm paying market wages. And so now I'm getting much better talent. And now they're seeing this as a career, not as a job. So I'm just getting better quality people, and I'm getting more people. And if you know anything about property management, tasks are like water. They come in all the time, and you have to basically get them out and get them shipped out and turn around as quickly as possible. And if you have bad communication, you are going to have churn. People are going to leave you. And so if you have bad communication, you're typically running a reactive business. And that's exactly what was happening to me. I was running a very reactionary business. I was trying to grow. Our churn rate was huge. People were unhappy. Residents weren't staying. It was a cluster. It was a nightmare. And then I ended up, basically hiring a bunch of remote team members, getting rid of some of my bad apples. Because, by the way, the bad apples stay, the good apples leave.
Yep.
Right. And I didn't believe that until it happened to me. Yep. Right. I had one of my top performers comes in, hands me a resignation, and she basically said, I'm leaving because you did nothing about this other person who is a poor performer. And my business coach told me that was going to happen, and I didn't believe it, and it happened. And I'm like, that's it. I'm in the business of making sure that I only have high performers and I get rid of the poor performers.
Yeah.
And so we changed our whole business around. So I'll give you quick numbers. 52% of our revenue was payroll. When I hired the remote team members, it went to 36%.
Wow.
The average for a service-based company should be between 30 and 34%. But think about it, 56 to 34, 36, call 20 points. Every dollar saved is a dollar earned. Unlike if I invested $1 in marketing, I get 20 cents back, right? 20% profit margin.
Right.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was our churn rate went from 34% down to 20%, which 20% is industry standard. 34% is incredibly high. So this showed that we had more people, our revenue, less portion of our revenue, and we're providing a better service, which then allowed our referral rate to go up and it allowed us to do more. When it was like we could expand our services, so we were able to expand our services, which brought in more revenue. Which now all of a sudden, our profit margin is much higher, and now everybody's happy. I'm happy, the team's happy, the clients are happy, the residents are happy, everybody's happy.
How did you find these remote folks? I mean, did you just go online and look for remote work, or how did you get these guys?
Yeah, so back then, back then there was a company that I found that was in the industry, and they had a company in Mexico, and that's how I found my first folks, through them. Okay. Today, internet's way better than it used to be, and there's companies like Upwork and like VPM now that today, if you needed to go find a remote worker, I highly recommend going to vpmsolutions.com, especially if you're in real estate, because our platform is geared for real estate. And what do I mean by that? Well, we advertise real estate, type companies and jobs so that people create profiles. And then we also have courses that candidates can take that are property management, real estate specific. Okay. We also have search criteria that you can search by specific real estate, softwares, and skills. And then we also have resources for the industry that we give away free. So we have KPIs and job descriptions and, company training. We have a training on DISC. We have a training on how to hire a remote team. We have a training on insurance.
Awesome.
So they're not for virtual team members. They're for companies as well. So today is easier than ever before to find remote team members.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like, how are your remote or these VAs trained? Are you hiring people that already have this knowledge in real estate, that have already maybe, had the training of speaking with sellers? I mean, how do you find these?
Very few. There's billions of people out there in the world, sure, and not everybody in Philippines has experience in property management or in real estate.
Right.
So we get people that are interested in that through our targeted marketing, and then what we do is we have some courses that they can take. So like, for example, we have this 12 our signature courses are Property Management 101. We have 1 through 12. It's 9 hours of content. You can take those 12 courses, get 9 hours of content. Does that mean you're going to be able to get hired and be a property manager? Absolutely not. What it means is you get hired and you understand what DOM means. You understand what the language means. You understand the life cycle of property management. So that way, when they do train you, you have a base. And so that's what we try to do. We try to train them on all things real estate, so they have a base. And John, honestly, I'm a big fan. Every time I've hired people with experience, never worked out.
No,
we are not sending people to Mars here. I'm not trying to build, the next spaceship.
Mm.
I'm trying to get somebody to do maintenance coordination. I'm trying somebody to do appointment setting. I'm trying to get somebody to, to do lease ups.
Mm.
I have processes and policies and procedures. If I can get you the right attitude, and I know you're the right, personality profile with some training, so you have the ability to learn, you're going to be a good fit in the organization.
I know in my past experiences, and I've heard it around, and how are you combating, especially if you have these VAs that are calling for investors, right? Calling homeowners, how are they dealing with, or how are you teaching them to deal with the emotional intelligence, right? Because we both know that if you call me and I say, yeah, for $1 million, I'll sell my house. We know that's a joke, right? Whereas these other folks, in my experience of VAs, they don't know that difference and they can't read that. So do you help teach that, or do you provide a way for these folks to learn that?
Yeah, we have an English test on our platform that's free that
Okay.
people can take. And so, yes, there's a difference between I understand English and I can speak it, and then there's a difference of understanding the colloquisms or the little, the little,
Nuances of I get.
yeah. And so the English test will help with that. I will say I'm painting a broad brush here, John. So don't, take this with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm finding is people in Central America and Mexico have a much better understanding of our, of our language than somebody in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Southeast Asia, they'll speak it, but they don't get the jabs. They don't get the innuendos.
Yeah. And I was going to ask if there is, because I've heard from all sides, where there might be better VAs, what come from maybe South America, maybe the Philippines, and you kind of maybe just answer that question.
Well, again, it depends on the job role, right?
On the job,
again, I'm going to paint a very broad brush here, and the Philippines they get a bad name in a way, because everybody's like, oh, well, just the Philippines and they don't do X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of people out there, and if you do have a good hiring process, you'll weed out the ones that aren't a fit for your company. But broadly, talking, the people in the Philippines are great for detail work, back office work, stuff that has to be, happen the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. And broadly speaking, they're not really good talking to people and kind of having to learn on the fly, right? They're very good with structure, right? And of course, when somebody in the United States hears a Southeast Asian accent versus a Hispanic accent, well, the Hispanic accent, they think they're in Houston, right? The Southeast Asian accent, they think they're in a call center in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of that. But I will tell you this, my customer service person at VPM Solutions is from the Philippines. So I literally just said, don't hire somebody for customer service in the Philippines, and that's who my guy is. And so just because, you hear Philippines is bad, just let everybody apply. Let them go through your hiring process, and then let the best person win. And you'd be surprised. There's some really good people out there. Just like in Mexico, you can have property accountants.
Sure.
That's not what they're known for, but you can have them, and they work out really well.
What are some mistakes people make when looking for a VA that you could help avoid?
Yeah, okay, I got a bunch of them here. All right. Number one mistake is, okay, John told me, hey, Pete, John called me. He told me I need a VA, so I'm going to get a VA. Okay. All right, Fred, what is the VA going to do? I don't know. The first mistake is not having a complete job description, right? Having a job description that says answer phone calls, all other duties assigned by management is not a job description. You have to be detailed. If you don't know what they're supposed to do and you're just going to hire somebody because they're cheap, that's the wrong way to go about it. If you don't know what they're supposed to do, they have no idea what they're supposed to do. So job description is the number one challenge. Number two challenge is I have no core values, right? So I'm hiring, but I have no core values. And I know it sounds kind of hocus pocus, like, oh my God, core values. What all it means is, what are the type of characteristics that you want in the foxhole with you? Who's the type of person you want to have on your team? And if you don't know and you don't have any, and you have a team, you have core values. They're just not the ones you want. They're just coming up. They're bubbling up from the team up. Core values must be from the head down. And if you're just a real estate investor and you don't have a team, you still have personal core values. Those are ones you have to push down. So I need to know the type of person that I want to give a ticket to get on the boat. The job description is the instructions to the seat on the boat. And the personality profile, I'm a big DISC guy. If you're a realtor, you probably know DISC. I'm a big fan of that. Whether you use predictive index or anything like that, I only know DISC. But that then tells you, okay, this is the right person for this seat.
Right.
If you have those three things down, the chance of hiring somebody is going to be more successful. The next mistake they make is they don't know how to create a scorecard. I hire somebody and they don't know what success looks like. I don't know what success looks like. What is the key performance indicator for that job role? And then are they hitting it? And then the next one after that is training.
Yeah.
Right. I want to hire somebody with experience because I am lazy and I don't want to train my person. Right. So I just want to hire somebody and I want to abdicate. So the next mistake after that is management. I'm either going to abdicate, delegate and manage, or I'm going to micromanage. And I find it very funny when I have somebody in my office making $80,000 a year and they come in late, they hang out by the water cooler, they go to lunch late, they leave early, and I don't give two craps about that person, but I'm paying somebody $6 an hour and I want to know everything they did. I want to have their screen capture. If they went to the restroom, how dare they? I'm worried about stealing time. Meanwhile, the guy making $80,000 a year he's stealing 6 hours a day from you.
Right.
So
incredible.
So then the other side of that is I'm going to abdicate, meaning, okay, John, I hired you. I give you basically an hour of training and that's it. Good luck. Right. And then I pat myself on the back. Oh man, I'm not a micromanager. You're just as bad because people want to be managed.
Yeah.
They need to be managed, whether they're remote or not. Yeah. They need to be managed and you need to have a structure. You need to spend a lot of time with people up front. You know, if you're working 12 hours a day, great. You get to work 13 hours a day now because you have to spend an hour training this person over the next 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. Then after that, you have to have a weekly meeting with them and meet with them, and you have to have an agenda. Don't meet with them just to say, "Hey, what's going on? How the Mets are doing great." Like, no, you have to go in and say, "Here's the agenda. Here's this, here's that," and you have to go over your KPIs. You have to go over challenges, and your job is to make sure that you get rid of all the challenges for them. How do you make their job easier? So lots of mistakes there. I went through a bunch of them. So.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of big mistakes I hear, how people give up on VA so quickly is like you said, they don't train. They don't make them accountable. They don't teach them these things. They don't put the effort it needs. They do an hour. I'm good. Goodbye.
Yep.
So, how or what resources would you recommend to someone that's looking to hire a VA outside of calling your company?
Outside of calling my company, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think we have a different solution and a much better solution than anybody out there. But I think the first thing is create your job description. Find out what I think that's the main thing. Like, what does that look like? Okay, so how do I know what can a VA do, right? And so my answer to that is always like, if they don't have to be at a property physically and they don't need to have a license, they can do anything.
Yeah.
And so the way you come up with the job description is a couple of different ways. One way could be, I'm just going to do a time study. All the things that are low level, low enjoyment tasks or things I don't like to do, I'm going to create a job description. So that's the first thing, right? The first thing is like, okay, before I even know where I can get a VA, what can a remote team member do for me in my organization, right? Okay. And so the next piece is, if you're a little bit bigger and you have a few processes, you can just document a process and then create a job description from that process.
Okay.
So
there you go.
I think that's the first thing you need to do. There are other resources out there, but I'm not gonna use my time to give.
Of course not. Well, and that being said, Pete, this has been a lot of great information. If people do want to get a hold of you and they are looking to hire a VA, they want to reach out, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can actually email me directly, pete@vpmsolutions.com. I actually answer all my emails, so I do not have a executive assistant that answers my emails. Or you can go to our website, vpmsolutions.com, and you can book a demo.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we'll put all your links and everything down in the show notes. So guys, I hope you got, a lot of good information today about, about the world of remote workers, how it can grow your business. I would definitely reach out to Pete and his company to talk about how they can help you grow your business. Once again, Pete, thank you for all the good nuggets, man. There's a lot of cool stuff that I think our listeners can grow off of, and I hope every one of y'all had a good show today. So, Pete, thank you again.
Thanks, John.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.